Day one of the Akiya restoration project has begun. So I was having a look around the property just to see what I could find. And I came across this old gas brush cutter. It was in pretty bad condition and I had to put it back together in a couple of spots. The blade was old and rusty, wouldn't start, but with a bit of work I got it started, and I figured I was gonna have to replace it at some point anyway because it was really old, but this gave me something to get started with, so at least I could start hitting these yards. So I started cutting the grass and the reeds in the backyard, and it was a bit of a tough process because the blade on the brush cutter was really old and really rusty. And so it was a lot of effort to try and get through, particularly because there's a lot of these reeds and they're really woody and they're quite solid, so you really got to hit them quite hard to get through. And the other thing is that because this used to be farmland, it's not just grass and weeds. There's a lot of this kind of, it's like straw. I don't quite know what it is, but you know, it gets tangled around the blade, and so yeah, it was a bit of a challenge. It was just a matter of, you know, just keeping at it and just getting through it as well as I could. I tried sharpening the blade a little bit. I did find some whetstones around the house. The previous owner did a lot of fishing, so they had fishing knives and whetstones to sharpen them and things like that. So I tried that, and yeah, it helped a little bit, but not a great deal. So it was just a matter of just getting into it and, you know, just pushing on. But unfortunately, I had a problem. About a quarter of the way into the yard, the throttle cable on the brush cutter snapped. So I was stopped dead at this point. But I was able to get a little bit of the backyard done. So the area just outside the house was done, but I still had all of this left to do, and I didn't really want to do this with that brush cutter, to be honest. So I had a decision to make: try and fix the brush cutter, maybe buy a new blade for it, or just walk away. So I decided to walk away. So I went down the corner, got myself some new gardening clothes, some new boots, and then it was time to retire the old brush cutter. It had tried its best, but it wasn't quite there. So I got this Makita brush cutter, 18 volt, and this made all the difference in the world. So I was able to get back to work now, and straight away you could see the difference. This just sliced through those reeds like they weren't there. So this made the rest of the process a lot easier. So at this point, I was able to just get into it and start getting it all done. So I've done a bit here. As you can see, it's starting to clear up now. It's also starting to rain on me. But as you can see, I've got the area right in front of the house, or right behind the house, done. I've got a fair bit done around the, we'll call it a well for now, it's actually a tank. I've got a fair bit of work done around there, but yeah, still a hell of a lot of work to go. One thing that I did find is I kept hitting these survey markers. They're basically the boundary markers for the property.
I'm going to have to be a little bit careful. I keep hitting these boundary markers. This is about the third one I've chopped the top off. So I'm just collecting them, and then hopefully I'll be able to put them back together in some way, or get up a post or something like that. Yeah, it's a pain there. I've just got to be careful, but yeah, it does mean that I've kind of got to do everything in layers now. I can't just, you know, attack the bottom of the grass, because I just don't know where these things are. Yeah, just got to be careful around the edge, I guess, but we'll see how we go.
One thing you'll notice in this video is that there's a lot of construction work going on in the background right next to my backyard. So what's going on there is that the area we live in is quite mountainous, and there has been landslides before. So this is very typical for the Japanese countryside. What you see is a lot of these concrete shorings on the mountainside. It actually becomes, you know, a characteristic of the Japanese countryside after a while. So although you look at it and you think, oh, don't know if I want that concrete everywhere, after a while it becomes something that is a characteristic of being in the Japanese countryside. You get used to it. It becomes part of it. But basically what they're there for is to shore up the base of the mountain and shore up where they think there might be some weaknesses in the mountains, so that if there's torrential rains, which happens in typhoon season, it stops the mountain from collapsing. And then you've also got that net in the middle of the screen there that you can see, and that will stop, you know, the trees sliding through or large rocks from coming down. It'll look a lot better when they're finished, though. Right now it's just construction, and I've got some plans for those walls. In a later video you'll see the wall actually finished, and yeah, I've got some plans to actually make them part of the backyard. But right now, as you can see, my young boy's come out here to give me a hand, and yeah, he had a great time doing this. He really loved it. So it's nice to spend some time with my boy doing these sorts of things. It was a bit hard to do this back in Australia because we didn't really have much of a yard, so there wasn't really a lot of this sort of stuff to do. So I'm really enjoying doing this with my son. So we ended up with a massive pile of grass in the corner there, as you can see, because we're just having to rake it all up and pile it in the corner there. I've got to try and figure out what to do with it. because they are a little bit thingy about burning off in this particular area, which can be a little bit annoying because when you drive around in Hirakagawa, which is where we actually are here, you see people burning off all over the place. So yeah, I've got to figure out what we can do. But there we go. So that's kind of done. So with that finished, I took about probably 2 or 3 weeks off, mainly because it was raining and I couldn't really do anything out there. So I ended up just doing some work in the gardens in the front. So in the background there, you can see a little rock wall that I've built in that front garden there. I've tried to clean that up. That's going to be on a upcoming video. And I wasn't too sure at this point what I wanted to do with the backyard, whether I was going to flatten it or anything like that. But at this point, it was quite full of sticks and rocks that were really embedded into the ground. There was, you know, rotten logs and really large sticks and things like that. So there's Zen. I'm sure you all remember Zen, out here to cause trouble. So I decided that instead of getting a motorized mower, I decided to just get this push mower, which from Kornam, which is the local hardware store, they call it a home center, cost me, I think, about $70 Australian, which is not bad. So I figured this would be at least a good way to, you know, just keep the grass down without buying something expensive that's going to get destroyed by all the rocks and things like that. So I've nearly finished putting that together. I'll just throw the grass catcher on, and then we're going to go and have a go at mowing the grass for the first time. Looks good enough. Let's have a crack. So as you can see here, the yard's a bit of a mixed bag. So there is some native grasses in there, but there's also a lot of clovers and a lot of weeds as well. You can see there's little tufts of reeds just at the top of the yard there to the left. So they're really, really tough, and they have this root system. It's kind of like a crown root system, which is a big ball of roots that goes probably about 6 to 8 inches down into the soil. And they're really tough to get out. You have to dig them out and then just basically rip the whole thing out. So I had about 30 of them to get out. So you can see some sort of bare patches around the yard. That's where I've dug a lot of those reeds out. But there's still a heap more of them. There's probably about 10 to 15 more of them that I need to get out. So up until this point, over the last couple of weeks, what I have been doing is actually using a line trimmer to mow the lawns and just at least just keep it manageable, which took a long time. Although I will say this push mower didn't really save me much time. It probably took about as much time and about as much effort as the line trimmer. And it also got caught on sticks and little divots and things like that because the ground is so uneven. So I was constantly having to pull sticks out of the rotors and unjam it and things like that. But the big advantage was that this backyard's full of these little mites, and they live in the grass there. And when I was using the line trimmer, two things would happen. I'd get hit with this barrage of sticks and stones and I'd end up with scratches and scrapes all over me. Or if that didn't happen, I'd end up with these little bites from these little mites that were like insect bites, and they were very unpleasant. So I would have to cover myself head to toe just so that didn't happen. So one of the advantages of this push mower is it is getting warmer now, so I am able to get out there in shorts and t-shirt, as you can see here, with this push mower, and not have to worry about getting bitten or getting attacked with by sticks and stones flying up at me. And to be honest, it is nice to get out here and just take my time doing this. Slightly meditative in a way, and it's a very nice environment to be doing this with. You can't complain about the view. Alright, so there you go, the lawn's pretty much mowed. So I ended up leaving that for a couple of weeks, and I just let the grass grow in for a little bit. Originally I was thinking that I was going to re-turf it, but I thought I'd just let it grow for a while and just see what comes up and see what sort of coverage I get. So let's have a look at a couple of before and after shots, and we'll see how far the backyard's come.